Take two.
I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
All right, follow me with this.
But they've been using their power to obstruct and stop justice from taking place.
You want to pray us out?
I do.
We'll pray for Tina. And let's have conversations about what truth is. Well, you get me today. And welcome back. It is Tuesday. And we have a great guest on with us today. His name is Michael Jan. Sorry. Why did I say Juan? Oh, because I was just thinking about 107. I was just talking to him. And we'll have him on later on this week as well. We are going to, before we bring on Michael, we're going to talk about some other things that have been released that I think are important to the narrative. And even before we do that, I got a phone call from a couple people today. One, I'll just say hi to Don out in Oregon. He's like, Joe, I was watching your podcast and you just seem like you're down. So I just want to clarify some things. If you've ever been to battle, if you've ever had to make a decision, and which I clearly did in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, pretty much consistently had to make decisions of, all right, what's next for me? And you people say bad things about you that aren't true, and you have to not want to kick their teeth in. But I do want to kick their teeth in. I'll just tell you right now, it's an occupational hazard not to want to hurt people that are just really bad people. But I operate with restraint. I figured that God will take care of them. I just got to continue to stay consistent. But you get to a point where you're ready for battle. You're ready for whatever someone throws at you. And I had a conversation with someone out there, and they came to visit me because they were here to support Tina. We've got some really good updates for that as well. And I'm just past the point where I want to get into theatrics. I'm past the point where I want to get upset over what I know is just absolutely stupid. So I don't even know if that makes sense to you, but I do business every day, and I've been really good at business for the last 30 years. And I've learned a lot, and I've gotten an immense amount of success over that 30 years. And you have people that say stuff like, "Oh, Joe, it's hard to get past your ego." No, I think it's hard to get past my intelligence. And yeah, I am an intelligent person. And when you finally get to the point where you're just not going to listen to anybody's garbage, you become much more calm. You become much more at peace, ready for war. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for whatever this Coomer suit that I have, and you get the constant barrage of things by like Kyle Clark at 9 News, who, one of the reasons why they sued all these people. So they sued Salem, they sued Randy Corcoran, they sued President Trump, they sued Mayor Giuliani, Sidney Powell, Gateway Pundit. I can go down the line. They sued all of these people for what I said. And the reason why they did it is pretty simple. It's the wrap-up, smear, and reverse. They had to sue all these people that gave me the ability to have a voice. Now, they didn't defame them. There was no defamation by them. They gave me the ability to speak truth. And I did. And then he sued him, and then he made as a way of settling that you have to say that there was no evidence and that you were wrong for allowing Joe Oltmann to come on. That's not defamation. That's called freedom of the press, and that's called the ability to hear truth, and what they did is they muzzled truth. So the only reason they did it is to create a narrative to take away the credibility for me. That's it. It had nothing to do with, and as I'm going through all of the information, because I have to turn over a bunch of evidence that we're going to be putting in the trial with Coomer next April. And I'm going through it, and I just realized how much of a piece of shit Eric Coomer is, and how much of a piece of shit his lawyer is, and how much of liars they are, like flat out liars. And so you get to the point where it doesn't matter what anybody says. Like unless you're willing to stand in front of me and run your mouth to me and take the consequences of me basically putting your face through the back of your brain, right? Because you want to come at me, then it doesn't matter what you say. And you say, well, Joe, that's pretty violent. No, violent is what they did to my family for 5 years. Violent is having to protect your wife and your children from maniacs that come to your home that try to do harm. Violence is when they tell you that you're under constant surveillance and that you're trying to tell them to leave you alone when it's 2 weeks after. Violence is when you cancel the ability to have a response, which is what the social media companies did by stopping me from talking, but elevating Dominion and Eric and all the rest of these dirtbags. That's violence. What I did was an adequate response, and now I'm just to that place where I'm just okay. I'm fine. Like I am at peace with everything. I just want my day in court. I want my day in court, just like my day in court that I had with the Mike Lindell trial. And frankly, I just feel as if every time I turn around, I'm the one doing the right thing. And you have a lot of people that are doing the wrong thing. They're being dishonoring. And so when you get to that place, it's a beautiful place to be. You concentrate on your family, concentrate on the things that are right in front of you, but you lose the ability or the desire to talk to or negotiate with stupid, negotiate with ridiculous. Because why should I? Like I have nothing to prove to anyone. I did. I proved it already. I proved that a guy from bad stock could build companies with no outside capital and do so while giving away a vast majority of it every year and still growing and getting to the place where you have multiple awards and been able to do great things, and you have 2 amazing children, and you got a beautiful wife, and you got a beautiful life. Like I proved it. I already did. I did what people wake up every day trying to do. I did it. And I still give back immensely every day, and I feel good about that. So you can't take that from me. Can't take my peace from me. So, Don, I'm good. Everybody, I'm good. I just will no longer debate the ridiculous, and I don't care about Con Inc. or the paper tigers. I just don't care. Right? I'm going to do the right thing, and you're welcome to think however you want to think. I'm good. But if you come for me, that's the calmness that I have, is that. Okay. So there's a bunch of things that have been put out there related to the Russia hoax. we should call it the Dominion hoax too, like the Dominion and the Coomer hoax. we should call it all the hoax, because those are the real hoax, and the Russia deal is they just create it. They create this idea where they can throw things against the wall and make people believe it. Some of the dumbest human beings you'll find believe it, but they make them believe it. One of the biggest bombshells that came out of the ODNI reports and information is that Obama's own intelligence told him that Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, preferred Hillary over Trump because they had blackmail on her. So let's go ahead and put that up if we can. Oh, here it is. Okay. It says the ICA ignored strong indicators supporting the alternative hypothesis that at a minimum, Putin didn't care who won and even had reason to prefer a Clinton victory. By keeping the most damaging material on Clinton in reserve, Putin was not only demonstrating a clear lack of concern for Trump's election fate, but conversely, his actions also indicate that he preferred to see Secretary Clinton elected, knowing she would be more vulnerable president than candidate Trump. Moscow's reserve of compromising material would have given Putin leverage over a Clinton administration, but not a Trump one. The ICA glossed over the significance that Moscow held some pre-election influence efforts for potentially later use, without explaining how much more damaging they would be than the relatively benign materials leaked during the election, and the implications that Putin preferred Clinton to win, or at least didn't care. That checks. I mean, I could see that Putin would take that position. I mean, you've never met a strong man that didn't actually respect another strong man. So Putin didn't care. Like, all right, here's Trump. He's a little bombacious, and he's definitely got a swagger to him. But he didn't wake up one day and say, "Oh yeah, I want Trump over Hillary," because the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. Everybody knows that. So preferring Hillary Clinton was kind of a foregone conclusion. I think everybody said, well, they don't know what President Trump will do when he gets into office. He did surprise all of us and do some things that really helped the American people that was undone by Biden and the theft of the election in 2020. So here's Russian intelligence didn't have blackmail on Clinton. They also held secret health and campaign data on her. Hillary was drugged up daily with heavy tranquilizers. So let's kind of look at this if we can. And this is the report. Let me see if I can read it here. Just a little bit if you can. Important. Okay, the ICD 2000. Okay, so finding number 7, the ICA failed to consider significant alternative hypothesis suggested by intelligent reporting and observed Russian behavior. ICD 203 states the proper tradecraft incorporates analysis of alternatives to include systematic evaluation of differing hypotheses to explain events or phenomena. They explain that plausible alternative hypotheses are particularly important when major judgments must contend with significant uncertainties. And while alternative assessments might produce high-impact results, emphasis added, discerning what was in the mind of President Putin that led him to order covert influence operations was fraught with significant uncertainties. Under the circumstances, it is important that the ICA address reasonable alternative hypothesis. By adopting a single-track explanation for Putin's actions, that he preferred candidate Trump and aspired to help him win, the ICA authors had little choice but to ignore contrary evidence and attempt to force fit weak evidence to make their case. The ICA's single-track hypothesis misled U.S. policymakers on a textbook high-impact intelligence judgment. This was particularly serious tradecraft mistake because Putin's objective had already accurately understood by U.S. policymakers in order to appreciate the actual effect of the Russian operations on the election or to take actions to mitigate threats to future U.S. elections. With 3 versions of the ICA being published, top secret limited dissemination, top secret, and unclassified, the ICA general conclusions were available to everyone. And the publicity these generated assured the document was widely read. The DNI report, the highest classified compartmented version, was shared with some 250 U.S. officials, an extraordinarily high number for such a sensitive document. The ICA judgments affected all manner of decisions by executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government, as well as the perceptions of American democracy by U.S. allies, foreign opponents, and U.S. and world media and American citizens. Collectively, these factors made the ICA a high-impact assessment that demanded the highest standards of tradecraft to include the consideration of plausible alternative hypotheses. I don't actually know why MJ Truth Ultra puts this stuff on it. It's not like you can't just go get these documents, but I'm going to just give credit where credit's due. This is at MJ Truth Ultra's document, I guess. This is nuts. Everybody fights over stupid stuff. Facts. Okay. The ICA ignores strong indicators supporting the alternate hypothesis that, at a minimum, Putin didn't care who won and even had reason to prefer a Clinton victory. By keeping the most damaging material of Clinton in reserve, Putin was not only demonstrating a clear lack of concern for Trump's election fate, but controversially, his actions could also indicate that he preferred to see Clinton elected, as we said before. Let's go up a little bit. I already read that one before. The ICA glossed over significant that Moscow held some back pre-election influence efforts for potential later use. So as you go through this, it becomes really difficult for you. It becomes really difficult not to look at this and go, what is happening here? Like, how are we even here? How do we debate the ridiculous and forget about factual data? Now let's look at this. This is did we put up the other one with the tranquilizers? Heavy tranquilizers? Put up two. Put up two. Yes. Put that up. Okay, so this goes in. As of September 2016, the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, the SVR, had Democratic National Committee information that President Obama and party leaders found the state of Secretary Clinton's health to be extraordinarily alarming and felt it could have serious impacts, negative impacts on her election prospects. Her health information was being kept in strictest secrecy, and even close advisors were not being fully informed. Okay, so let's take that down. And remember this, if you remember this, first of all, that means that they have people that are inside the DNC, because loose lips, think shit, people like to talk. Let's look at this. Remember when Hillary Clinton fell getting into the van? She was like a slab of beef. Let's go ahead and play it. There we go. Here's her getting into the van. And you can see that she's getting ready to fall down. It's like having a diabetic attack or something. What is happening here? What is going on? Okay. And they just kind of rolled her into the van. By the way, who does that? Who does that? Who in their right mind? That's the best we got. This is why I say we debate the ridiculous, is because you have people that are captured that are said, hey, read this. I need you to make sure you read this. I got this from, this guy over here, and he wants all of us to read the same thing, be on the same playing field. And so you get out there and you repeat the ridiculous. Somebody else is ridiculous. It blows my mind. And we don't know if she was having a heart problem or diabetes, but Trump always seemed to know something. Like maybe it is just kind of weird. Go up if you can really quick on 4. Let's go ahead and put 4 up.
Putin, from everything I see, has no respect for this person.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
It's pretty clear you won't admit that the Russians have engaged in cyber attacks against the United States of America, that you encouraged espionage against our people, that you are willing to spout the Putin line, sign up for his wish list, break up NATO, do whatever he wants to do, and that you continue to get help from him because he has a very clear favorite in this.
Interesting. By the way, based on all the stuff that you just saw and the stuff that you weren't allowed to see, you will be happy to know that Obama was referred to DOJ for criminal implications. Let's go and play.
Any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
All righty then. Now keep in mind, Tulsi Gabbard is a Democrat and was treated horribly. And she, she's what you call her, a blue blood, you call her a old school Democrat. You can almost call, she's what was, progressive is now considered conservative, and what's progressive today is considered retarded. But we have a guest with us. Is he here on yet? Okay, so we're gonna do we know what time he was supposed to be on? Is it 2:30? Okay. All right. So we'll get him on here in a bit. Let's kind of talk about this for a minute. So we're going to have Michael Yon on. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's a former Green Beret. He reported in war zones in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2004. He has been featured on Good Morning America, CNN, ABC, and Fox. He works to appear in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times. I don't know if he actually publicized the New York Times and other major media outlets around the world. Mr. Yon has worked hard to earn a reputation as a premier independent combat journalist of his generation. And he's going to join us and talk about something that we weren't supposed to talk about before, and that is vaccines. Yesterday, we had a little bit of kind of a taste of this when we talked about Kayla. And Kayla is the one that is in, let me take these off. I need to get this cleaned. That to talk about the fact that she was offered medical assisted suicide in Canada. That's how they wanted to handle it. She got the Moderna vaccine, and slowly but surely, the vaccines that are out there that they put out there, these mRNA vaccines, they want to tell us that they're safe. Now they're not publicizing that they're doing vaccines. Matter of fact, I went in for a doctor's appointment, and one of the things that I asked the doctor, I was like, "So you're going to ask me again for a vaccine?" He goes, "No, we're not doing that anymore." So just like that, the vaccine's gone. People lost their jobs, their careers, lost their lives, had medical emergencies, seizures, and just like that, they're like, "Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. We're not going to talk about it anymore." They're no longer talking about herd immunity, and they tried to float by the pandemic. You know, there's another pandemic coming, and you have this like Ebola virus that's similar to Ebola that's coming to the United States. They've even floated pushing viruses out in the community. And you have the World Economic Forum and others that are talking about what's next and how do we have control over the communities and the countries. And yet no one's gone to jail. No one's gone to jail. So we're going to talk a little bit about, with Michael, we're going to talk about vaccination records and what's happening with that. But while we get him on, I'm going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be back. In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
My first time here shooting at the shooting range.
How's it going? It's also my first time, and I'm really excited.
It's also my first time here, first time shooting guns.
My day off of work, and they were like, "Hey, you want to shoot some guns?" That was awesome. The revolver is crazy. I will definitely come again.
Yeah, it was awesome. Really cool experience.
100% bringing my friends here another time.
I like to come shoot because I get to spend time with my family.
Same for me. I love spending time with my family. It's something to do.
It's a lot of fun shooting.
When I first moved back into town, the first place I came was DCF Guns, and I signed up for a membership right away.
I got into shooting because of self-defense. I would encourage all women to be ready and to feel comfortable handling a handgun.
This was my first time ever shooting at DCF West. It felt amazing. I shot an AR-15 and it was amazing. It was powerful and I loved it.
I'm here today as a part of a group of women that support one another in continuing to practice and and refine our knowledge.
Not only self-protection of ourselves, but protection of our loved ones as well.
I have fun and I get to meet with other ladies.
You should always be prepared to defend yourself.
And I love coming to DCF Guns West to shoot. I come with my family. It's a nice, clean, friendly range. Here I feel safe. I feel like the people to my left and my right are also really cognizant of their range etiquette. That's why I come to DCF Guns West.
Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter.
Gabe! Dude, Gabe, something's in the dumpster.
Whoa, what is that for?
Something's in the dumpster, man.
Well, let's use the burner. We don't want to wake the neighbors. Freeze! Stop resisting!
Stop resisting!
If you're looking for a less than lethal option for self-defense or keeping pests out of your dumpster, then check out Byrna at DCF Guns. Visit us at our 3 locations in Castle Rock or Colorado Springs, or visit us online at dcfguns.com.
Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. All right. So before we actually have a guest on, and they're working on his stuff right now, there's something I want you to watch. There's 21 million vaccine records that were released, including vaccination dates, lot numbers, and deaths. This is a little bit longer of a clip, but I want you to watch it. Pay attention to it. When we come back, we're going to talk about the vaxxed versus the unvaxxed, even giving blood, going to the doctor, having a hospital stay, and the fact that they are not only dividing us politically, but they're dividing us as people in ways that are pretty scary. So let's go ahead and play this.
Hello, everyone. This is Masako Ganaha. Thank you very much for tuning in to our live stream. Now we are going to start online press conference on database disclosure on 21 million COVID injections created by 350 Japanese volunteers using Japanese FOIA. I am today's your host, Masako Ganaha, and also a member of United Citizens for Stopping mRNA Vaccines. Today, through a joint project between the United Citizens for Stopping mRNA Vaccines and the UKOK Alliance, we have obtained vaccination and death information for a total of 20 million vaccinations. And this data has been compiled into a database and made public, receiving significant global attention in inquiries. Today, we are going to do online press conference in English because we did original live stream in Japanese on June 15th, and we had a lot of attention from all over the world. And many scientists and journalists, researchers have contacted us for more information. So that's why we decided to do this online press conference in English. So this database is composed of 21 million. It's 21 million. And let me introduce briefly the group we belong to. It's the United Citizens to Stop mRNA Vaccine. It's an organization consisting of approximately 70,000 supporters, researchers, and ordinary people, as well as over 3,000 volunteers. It was formed on April 23rd, 2024, and has been sending open questionnaires to pharmaceutical companies, holding protests, and raising awareness among the general public, both online and offline. In particular, Japan was the first country in the world to administer the replicon vaccine to the general public. We strongly protested against the sloppy clinical trials, and many of our supporters sent letters to hospitals, elderly care facilities, schools, etc., to raise awareness of the danger of the replicon vaccine. As a result, only an estimated 10,000 of the 4.2 million doses of replicon vaccine purchased by the government were administered. It can be said that our activities have made many Japanese citizens aware of the dangers of the replicon vaccine.
Hello everybody, I am Yasufumi Murakami from Tokyo University of Science.
So in this moment, I will speak in Japanese for Japanese listener, and we have a very nice translator, Mr. Kamijo-san. He will translate into English for you. So, and actually, my slide is all made in English, so you can easily understand by just reading it. Okay, let me start. 今日お話をするのは、我々が市町村が持っているワクチン接種データを公開していただきまして、それを解析した結果についてお話しします。そこでです、どういうデータがあるかといいますと、一人一人に関して、いつどのロットのワクチンを接種して、いつ亡くなったかというデータが網羅的に収集されています。それでですね、非常に驚くべきデータが、驚くべき現象を我々は見つけることができました。Next slide。ですね、これどういうデータかといいますと、ワクチン接種後にですね、何日ぐらい接種後に何日ぐらい経ってから、亡くなっているかということを接種した回数ごとに解析をしたものです。Next slide。今しがたのデータは非常に多くのファクターを含みますので、より整理した形でデータを、まとめたのがこのスライドです。
And this is also from the data of citizens registered in the local government, and it's quite accurate how many days the x-axis is a days, number of days, the death, there was a death timing.
オレンジのスポット、非接種者の、死亡者。
The orange dots represent the data of
the
unvaccinated
orange
people.
Dots are the unvaccinated people.
青いドットは接種者ということですが、打ってから間もなくというよりも、接種後120日前後に非常に大きなピークがあることが分かります。
And the blue dots are the vaccinated ones, and as you can see, the peak of the death happens around the 120 days timing.
もしワクチンが死亡を誘導しないのであるならば、このような山は見えるはずがありません。
If the vaccination is not the real cause of this death, then there will be no this kind of significant peak. Yeah, that's it.
ということで、それでですね、多分このことが本当は非常に多くの人がワクチン接種で亡くなっているにもかかわらず、報告数が極めて少ないことの大きな原因ではないかと我々は考えています。
So this graph shows that this time delay is the reason why many people are not registered as a vaccine deaths.
ですね、で皆さんがワクチン接種をしたドクターだと考えてください。打ったその日、その翌日、1週間以内にその非接種者が亡くなったのであるならば、それはワクチン接種が原因だろうというふうに普通は考えると思います。ところが接種されたお医者さんだったとしてもですね、打ってから3ヶ月とか4ヶ月経って患者さんが亡くなったとしても、それは多分別の原因だろうというふうに思いがちだと思います。それで問題なのは死亡者のマジョリティ、多くが接種後相当日数が経ってから発生しているという点が、大きな問題で、このことによりワクチン接種による死亡者は実際より非常に少なく計算されてしまうということ。ということですので、先ほど私が計算した61万人という数字と、厚生労働省に届けが出されている死亡者の人数の間に非常に大きなギャップがあるということの理由は、このことによってある程度説明できると思います。じゃあ、メイアイブ、ネクストスライド。これはですね、接種、
I'm sorry, he needs
1回目から5回目の接種までの接種した打ってから最終的に接種してから何日ぐらい亡くなったかというふうなことを示したグラフで、縦軸が死亡者の人数です。
So you can see in this graph that the number of days after the inoculation and how many people died. This is the x-axis, and you can see on the right hand side how many inoculation days people has gotten.
それでこのグラフを見ると明らかなことは、接種の回数が増えるごとに亡くなる人たちの最大亡くなる人たちが亡くなるまでの時間がだんだん短くなっていくと思います。
The tendency is that the more you have received the inoculation, the time of the timing of the death after the inoculation is getting shorter.
はい。May I have next slide? これがまとめです。それで我々もですね、デンマーク・ダニッシュのスタディと同じような非常に大きなドット差を見出すことができました。
So we could find out the difference in the lot-specific toxicity as in the publication of the Danish group.
それでですね、我々はそのドット差のデータに関してはデータベース化しておりまして、今現在公開できるような方向に持っていくことを、努力をしています。
We are making right now the database for the lot-specific difference, and we'll be publishing it soon.
もう一つの非常に大きな発見は、接種してから数ヶ月の3ヶ月から4ヶ月目に死亡者のピークが現れるということで、このことがワクチン接種の被害を、実際よりも小さく見せている原因だと思います。
And also, very important finding of this study is that the death occurs 3 or 4 months after the inoculation, last inoculation. This makes this the appearance that it is not caused by the vaccination.
それでいろいろ論文を当たってみますと、mRNA 型ワクチンには非常に明確な免疫抑制活性があることが分かっています。
Going through many publications, we know that about the mRNA vaccines have very immune suppressing effect.
それでなおかつその免疫抑制の働きはスパイクタンパク質の産生量に比例しているというふうなデータも示されています。
Also, there are data that this immune suppressing function is also proportional to the quantity, the amount of the spike proteins produced.
mRNA ワクチンのもう一つの毒性の可能性は、スパイクタンパク質を発現する細胞が自らの免疫によって破壊されることです。
The other toxicity of the mRNA vaccine is when spike proteins are produced, then the body's own immune system, like T lymphocytes, are attacking those cells which produce the spike proteins.
接種して早い時期の間は免疫抑制、接種して間もなくはスパイクタンパク質が大量に産生されますので、その間は免疫抑制が働いて死亡者が減ると。しかしながら、スパイクタンパク質の量が減ってくると、免疫による攻撃が顕著になって、それで数ヶ月後に死亡者が減るというふうな仮説を私は考えています。
So during the first phase of after the inoculation, many spike proteins are produced, and therefore there is a certain immune suppressing effect. But after a while, when spike protein production is going down, is decreased, then the immune system is activated and attacks their own cells.
ということですが、このことからワクチン接種の死亡者数は我々が初めに想像したよりもはるかに多くの人が亡くなっているということで、これが日本で毎年何万人どころか10万人を超えるような数の人数の施設ですが見られる原因の一つではないかと考えています。
So therefore, the real number of the deaths from the mRNA vaccine, especially the COVID vaccine, is coming from this time delay, and this is the reason why so many people die as an excess death, which is in the range of 100,000s.
そこで我々は、約7万人の、仲間とともに今の mRNA ワクチン接種をやめさせるように政府に働きかけておりますが、残念ながら今のところまだ成功しておりません。
So we are about 70,000 people who make a petition and also pressure to the government that they immediately stop the mRNA vaccines, but we have not succeeded yet.
先週、私たちが始めたワクチン接種をすぐやめるべきだというふうな署名を約10万人以上を厚生労働省に提出をいたしました。
Last week we handed over this petition with the signature of more than 100,000 people to the Ministry of Health and Labor.
ということですので、インターナショナルに国際的に協力しながら、この危険なワクチンを接種をやめさせるべく頑張っていきたいと思いますので、今後ともよろしくお願いいたします。
Okay. So let's break it down for you. The big spike, the jump in the vaccines and deaths muted in 3 or 4 months later. So remember how they said causation and correlation, and you saw that how the unvaccinated just have a steady, this is just the death rate of people that are unvaccinated. It's very low. But the spike of the vaccinated goes up really, really high. And the next thing that they're going to be looking at is how does that play, or how does that connect with the different lots? And they basically said this is the hypothesis that they're working from. This is the theory that they're working from. Here's an article from the Vigilant Fox that breaks down all of that was discussed during the live streams. So let me go through this just a little bit. After reviewing the data, a top professor warned the more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die. The most terrifying finding was a deadly spike just 3 to 4 months after the final shot. Let's break down the data. June 15th, a group of brave Japanese truth seekers did what the government wouldn't. They released a bombshell broadcast exposing vaccine data from over 18 million people. I think 18 million people is a big enough group that it would qualify as a test group. Journalist Masako Ganaha, if the government won't do it, then the people should investigate the mass deaths of Japanese people. Database of 18 million vaccinated people revealed for the first time. The video featured a member of the House of Representatives, Kuzu Haraguchi, Dr. I'm going to get this right. Watch. Yasufumi Murakami, and the Information Disclosure Request Team. Dr. Murakami, just in some fringe voice, he's a respected professor at the Tokyo University of Science, where he served as vice director of the Research Center for RNA Science. He holds a Doctor of Pharmaceutical Science from the University of Tokyo and has authored over 100 scientific publications. But when the data went public, things got a bit unsettling. Pharma Insider Aussie17 shared a clip of the broadcast on X. Mr. Murakami's conclusion was blunt. The more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die within a shorter period. Now just pay attention to this part. The first graph compared death rates between vaccinated and unvaccinated groups. According to Dr. Murakami, there was no noticeable spike in deaths among the unvaccinated, but among the vaccinated, a clear peak emerged, especially between 90 and 120 days from the shot. Significant peak formed at 3 or 4 months, he said, pointing to the vaccines as the likely cause. It's probably due to the vaccine's influence, with adverse reactions occurring leading to death. How many people have lost their loved ones as a result of this? By the way, the U.S. government, smartest people in the world, right? Best education system? It's not, but let's argue for a minute it is. Couldn't do any of this. It came a graph that was impossible to ignore. It showed a clear pattern. More vaccine doses to a person received, the sooner they died after their final shot. Look at the vaccinated for the unvaccinated. This is unbelievable. The title translates the number of days from final vaccination to death and the number of deaths. The note on the right side reads that the number of vaccine doses increase, the peak in death appears sooner. Each line represents people grouped by their final doses they received before death. In other words, those counted under the third dose curve had received 3 shots and died before receiving a 4th. What stood out most were the steps, green spikes representing deaths after the third dose. Not only was it the highest, but it appeared earlier, around 90 to 120 days. They read, across the board, at a number of doses increased, the peak death consistently moved clearer to the time of the last injection. And so you can start to see that it almost became, this is just vaccinated, by the way, stop for a minute. So you can see where the first dose was the top one, then you have the death that's closer to it, and then you have the more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die. So it became quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. As Dr. Murakami noted, we found that as the number of doses increased, the peak deaths appeared faster, meaning the more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die within a shorter period. So the risk increases more with the doses. This is 18 million people, everyone. We found that as the number of doses increases, the peak of deaths faster. He added, if the vaccines had no toxicity or didn't induce death, there wouldn't be a peak. That's the point. Okay, go up. This is key discovery, he continues. The more doses, the more peak shifts, indicating that the toxicity accumulates. The toxicity overlaps, and the more doses you receive, the faster people die. So he repeats that over and over and over again. While the data is truly alarming, it comes to no surprise to anyone who's been paying attention. There's simply no excuse for these shots to still be on the market. Remember, the swine flu vaccine was pulled in 1976 after 25 deaths and around 550 cases of Guillain-Barré syndrome. And that was only a quarter of Americans vaccinated. Ultimately, 53 deaths were linked to the program, and the government not only shut it down, but also issued apologies and compensation to victims. As Peter McCullough stated in the video, it's unacceptable to have anyone take an injection electively and die. It's absolutely unacceptable. It's not something that your country ever thought is okay, that should ever think that is okay to do. Okay. Let's take that down for a minute. Now, you didn't electively choose this. So I have a friend, his name is Robbie. And Robbie gave people fake vaccine cards. And he's a salesman. He's a born salesman. Guy literally just had magazines, and he's a born salesman. And I don't have permission to say his first name or his last name, but it was kind of a big deal in Colorado. And he must have provided thousands of fake cards, vaccine cards, that people use in order to continue their employment, show that they were vaccinated but not get vaccinated. He was prosecuted by the federal government during Biden's administration. He was roughly fined over $100,000. And I can't remember the exact amount of time they spent in jail, but it was north of 6 months that he had to spend in jail, incarcerated. To this day, they're still chasing him for him to pay back the $100,000 fine or what have you. I think it's $100,000, maybe it's a little more than that. And the government hasn't made it right. They have 18 million people. You've just proved that the vaccines were actually killing people. So he was actually saving people's lives. He was working to save people's lives. And it's taking longer than it should for the Department of Justice to come back and say, yeah, we did that wrong. It's taking more than it should. And you say, Joe, it's not the biggest issue on the list. That's right. The American people aren't the biggest issue. I get it. But when you do it for one, when you step out and, you had the doctor in Utah that squirted the stuff on the ground, the vaccines on the ground and replaced it with saline. When you do it for one, you should do it for all. You shouldn't just stop there and make people beg for you to get. You should research it as the DOJ. There should be someone that Pam Bondi or others that puts in charge that says, hey, find me other people that have been victimized by the DOJ that tried to set out to take care of Americans. Find me those people. And when you find them, you should walk it right into President Trump's office. I'm just going to say it. Robbie Van Camp. That's his name. Robbie Van Camp. He lives in Texas now. And you say, Robbie Van Camp down in Texas, we're currently prosecuting him and trying to take money from him for protecting Americans. I need you to go ahead and just issue him a pardon. Can you do that for me, Mr. President? And Mr. President, there's probably more. There were multiple people around the country that were prosecuted for saving Americans, stepping out there, and they got charged with felonies. They lost their right to vote in some cases. They lost their ability to have a firearm. They lost certain rights by standing up for Americans, and the DOJ hasn't made it right. Now, I know that they know about it, so why haven't they done something to right the wrong? I don't know. It's been my plight to make sure that they actually take care of people like Robbie. But Robbie stepped out there, didn't make any excuses. I think they wanted all the information on every person he gave a card to, and he's like, yeah, I think that fell off the side of the boat when I was fishing. So he didn't give up anybody's name, which I thought was fascinating. But the government knows about this. The government knows that it's wrong. The government knows that it's done things wrong to the American people. And we won't do anything about it. But they did do this. We have some kind of goodish news on vaccines. Bobby Kennedy has removed mercury-based thimerosal from influenza injections. Mercury is a heavy metal that is capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier and causing serious neurological issues. So here's the new adaptation. It's the ACIP recommendation to remove thimerosal from all U.S. influenza vaccines. Okay. It doesn't matter. I don't need a vaccine. You have a natural ability to protect your body. And you say, well, Joe, I don't want to get that. I don't want to get the flu. I would rather get the flu than ever put poison in my body. It doesn't make any sense. You're putting something that you have to have a trust. So let me get this straight. Let me square this for you, for all those people out there. They did a study and they asked how many people in the United States trust the government. And I believe the last study they did said 3%. It was like 3%. 97% have a natural distrust for the government. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was close to that. 3%, 4%. So natural distrust for the government. Now, you say the same thing about the media. You don't trust the media. Yeah, people use the media as an indicator of what is or is not true. So on one side, you want to believe things are true, but you're putting something in your body and you're trusting not just the government, but a company that's getting paid massive amounts of money from the government to put into your body. And what do all the top pharmaceutical companies in the country have in common? They're all felons. They'd all be serving life without parole if they were a person. Every single one of them. Go check my math. And somehow you think that grandma and grandpa should inject this poison into their body because they're like, oh, they're older. That's why you don't give it to them. And then every year you got to get a shot in your body that's supposed to keep you protected for a year. I mean, how is that even a normal reaction? Put poison in your body. Put anything in your body. But you don't know what it is. But you have to do that in order to protect yourself. Don't take the vaccine. Don't take any vaccines. If you're a parent, don't put anything in your kid's body. Anything. Don't give them any vaccine. You're like, Joe, well, some of them are good. Which one? And do you want to play the Russian roulette with your kid's life and have a catatonic kid that is nonverbal because you decided that, I want to do the right thing and give them a vaccine? The only people that are in danger are the people that don't take the vaccine, if it's true, which it hasn't shown to be true. Now, I took vaccines as a kid. I think I skipped a bunch of them. But if I had to do it all over again, I never would have had my kids take that stuff. Never. But these doctors fed it to your kids and got paid for it. They actually got a 25, 30, 35% profit on every vaccine they stick in your body. So let me Bobby Kennedy is just out there exposing all sorts of stuff. He just exposed organ transplant abuses under previous HHS. This is your government. Organs were taken from people still showing signs of life. I want to know how many people suffer from brain damage because of vaccines that were forced into organ harvesting. So let me read this to you so you understand how serious this is. This is the system that is designed to do no harm. Our findings show the hospitals allowed the organ procurement process to begin when patients showed signs of life. And that is horrifying, Secretary Kennedy said. The organ procurement organizations that coordinated access to transplants will be held accountable. The entire system cannot be fixed. The system must be fixed to ensure that every potential donor's life is treated with the sanctity it deserves. They murdered people. The HRSA directed the Organ Procurement and Transportation Network to reopen a disturbing case involving potentially preventable harm to a neurologically injured patient by the federally funded organ procurement organization OPO, serving Kentucky, Northwest Ohio, and parts of West Virginia. Under the Biden administration, the OPTN's Membership of Professional Standards Committee closed the same case without action. Under Kennedy's leadership, HRSA demanded a thorough independent review of the OPO's conduct in the treatment of vulnerable patients under this care. HRSA's independent investigation revealed clear negligence after the previous OPTN board of directors claimed to find no major concerns in their internal review. Now, here's where it gets really sticky. HRSA examined 351 cases where organs donation was authorized but ultimately not completed. It found 103 cases, 29.3%, showed concerning features, including 73 patients with neurological signs incompatible with organ donation. At least 28 patients may not have been deceased at the time organ procurement was initiated, raising serious ethical and legal questions. Evidence pointed to poor neurological assessments, lack of coordination with medical teams, questionable consent practices, and misclassification of causes of death, particularly in overdose cases. Vulnerabilities were highest in smaller and rural hospitals, indicating systematic gaps in oversight and accountability. In response to these findings, the HRSA has mandated strict corrective actions for the OPO. I don't know how. I mean, keep in mind that they harvest organs and gave them to someone else. They had to kill that child or kill that person. It's fake humanity. Go take it down. You can see that they use it's the most vulnerable. Let's kind of skip through this break. I do want to tell you that we have, we keep talking about sponsors. I got a couple people that reached out to me that said, Joe, I'm heavily invested in precious metals. And I'm like, great. It's awesome. How much of your do you invest of your, of how you invest in, and they're like, all of it. And I was like, okay, that's a little extreme. I'm not sure I would do that. And so what she said, though, was really interesting. She goes, I've been investing for 35 years. And in 35 years, I've bought gold and silver. I converted my IRA in 2019. And I go, okay, that checks. And I go, so how's it been for you? How have you done with it? And she goes, I've done really well. I go, did you buy more 35 years ago or less? Because I'm trying to do the math for 35 years ago. And the interesting part is that she bought some gold in, I guess it'll be more than 35 years ago. She said she started buying in the mid 80s. Is that 40 years ago? Yeah, 40 years ago. And when gold was actually pretty high, I think it was a couple $1,000s. She goes, yeah, I got caught into that. And I've lost a bunch of money at first. Anyway, so I just went through the process. I don't know why I've had such a fascination with precious metals right now. Probably because I wasn't thinking about it, and then I just started buying more gold. Anyway, she's done really well. She's she's done very well. And so it was just, she listens to the show. I'm just going to say hi to you. Listens to the show and said, yeah, so everyone should invest in precious metals. And I go, at 100%? She said, yeah. I was like, yeah, I don't think that checks today. I wouldn't do that. But anyway, you can go check it out, invest what you want. Don't invest all of your hard-earned money into that, but you should make sure that you hedge your bets into precious metals. So you can call 844-960-GOLD, or you can go to untamedgold.com, and they'll just send you a no obligation report, and you'll get up to 10% in bonus silver if you jump on the bandwagon. And prices are down a little bit today, which is good. It was at 34.40 yesterday. I think it's at 33.85 today. All right. It looks like we actually are joined by Michael. We have Michael? All right. Well, I just went through a whole bunch of stuff, and so I feel like I'm up to date with all the vaccine data and killing people with vaccines. So let's just, and I kind of already introduced Michael, so let's just go ahead and bring Michael in. Michael, welcome to the show. There you go. Gotcha.
Okay, good. I see myself in two different cameras here. I hope everything's working right.
Yeah, we got you. You're on the big screen. So you're, yeah. I think you came in via Zoom, I bet.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm down here in Nagasaki in southern Japan. And so yesterday we went to the atomic bomb memorial, actually, which was quite interesting. You know, I'm with Masako Ganaha. Masako Ganaha is one of the leading persons here in Japan, helping with the jab information. The science team is led up by our mutual friend, Dr. Yasufumi Murakami. He's an expert on this, and he's been pulling together the key people in Japan. And now they have up to about 25 million records. A week or so ago, it was 21 million that they had that they were talking about. But now that they're satisfied with the most latest records they've released, it's about 25 million records. And the deaths in Japan are at least 600,000, they believe, that they know about.
So 600,000 out of the 25 million?
Right, that are actually dead.
Now, are these what would be the normal median number of deaths you would have in that 25 million just based on age and criteria? Have they figured that out yet?
I'm going to be very careful with this. You would need to talk with Masako or Dr. Murakami. So I'm going to be very careful. I've been in on the calls and the meetings and that sort of thing, but this is not actually, I'm cautious. But at the end of the day, about 600,000 and counting, and it's clearly getting worse. And so it's quite severe. It makes me wonder, of course, what the numbers are like across the United States and in Europe. You know, Dr. Murakami, he's living this night and day, you know, with his team. There's a lot of volunteers. I think it's about 350 volunteers who have been helping assemble the data.
That's about 4%.
It's pretty intense.
I mean, that's a big number.
It is. Yeah. Of course, the Japanese are still going down that direction of more jabs. Not all of them, but, you know, they're like we are, except even more intensely jabbed than we are. And last year, Dr. Murakami and Masako and I, we drove up to Fukushima, which is in a different part of Japan. A lot of people know Fukushima from the tsunami and the nuclear
reactor
plant there. And but so they've actually built a jab plant there. I mean, this thing's unbelievable. We went to it and published footage from it. And this thing is what's it called? Arcturus, I think it was the name. We were right there. We were right at the front gate. And again, I published it. It's on my Substack. But they were building another what they call replicons, what Dr. Murakami calls replicons. These are the ones that will replicate, right? Like right out of the movie. And so if somebody else gets the jab, they would spread to unjabbed people. Now, I don't know the science behind this. Again, I'm going to be careful. The best ones to talk with on the science side is definitely Dr. Murakami. And on more general matters, that would be Masako. But again, I'm fortunate enough to be, you know, in a lot of the calls and meetings and that sort of thing. And you know, I've spent more than a week with Dr. Murakami running around to his, you know, lab and all over the place, going to the, you know, the new jab plant. It's not the only one, actually. I don't call it vaccine because it's not a vaccine. And it's very important to always stick to the right words, right? Because the words are atomic structures of truth and lies. And our enemies are always trying to capture the words. And capturing those words is vital high ground in information war. Information war is something I study, That's why we're here in Nagasaki. We were actually at the museum yesterday for the atomic bombing here in Nagasaki. Actually, the hypocenter is very close to where the hypocenter where the bomb detonated in the air is very close to where I'm at now. I'm almost right. I'm very close to right underneath it. It's interesting because an information war is the highest form of warfare, and one of the things our enemies always try to do is seize the words, right? Or if we're doing information war, we try to seize the words. You want to use the word migration when it's actually invasion. If you start off talking about migration, you've already gone down the wrong path because you're not talking about war. They'll call it a border crisis. That's like calling, Masako and I were speaking to a group of Japanese about a week ago. And I said to the Japanese in this small meeting, it was probably 30 or 40 people. And I said, calling this border crisis is like calling the Marines landing on Iwo Jima a border crisis. No, that was straight up hardcore war and invasion. Followed or preceded by actually, a lot of information war, a lot of softening up with artillery, naval gunfire, and airstrikes, and that sort of thing, and information war, of course. And still, it was an incredible fight. But at the end of the day, we have to use the right words. And actually, the Japanese saw, as soon as you put it in those terms, they're like, exactly, because the Japanese are being invaded here too. Many people seem to not believe that the Japanese would open their doors and let people in. But, like huge numbers of people from all over Africa and the middle.
Come on.
Yeah. No.
Japan,
straight up.
Well,
And
how is this even possible if it's not run by a select group of people in some country? Because you would have to have consensus, which means people have to play ball, which means people have to be put in those positions over long periods of time in order to get away with this. Because there is a cultural, there's a thing that happens in a culture that you have this innate desire to protect. Like there's a protectionism. So how did you get past the protectionism in every country around the world if it's not being guided by one small group of people? That gets into a different conspiracy, but you have to at least look at it.
Let's talk about that. Information war is the highest form of warfare, right? And even Japanese, you might even say especially Japanese, are easy to manipulate if you've studied their firmware enough and you have access to the media and that sort of thing, right? These microphones are powerful, right? And images and that sort of thing.
I get cut off quite a bit, so I know exactly how powerful they are.
Let me tell you what. There's two different words in Japanese that you may have heard. Bonsai, like the chart, like the tree. There's the bonsai trees, right? Bonsai. It's pronounced slightly differently. I hope I'm doing it right for Japanese listeners. And when I put this on Twitter later, there'll be a lot of Japanese listeners. So there's bonsai, and then there's bonsai, which is the charge, right? Bonsai, charge, right?
Yeah.
And then the bonsai, the small trees, right? Let's talk about that for a minute. I'm going somewhere with this. The bonsai is spelled differently with an S. That's the small trees. And then the bonsai, the charge, is with a Z. They're different words. So not to get confused there. So, these bonsai trees, that's not a species of tree. That's any tree that has leaves and I believe actually branches. All the bonsai experts out there can correct me on this if I'm wrong. But you can take any tree like that and make a bonsai tree out of it. A bonsai tree, a tiny little micro tree, is the same as the giant redwood. You can bonsai redwood trees. I looked it up recently.
Really?
Actually,
have a little miniature bonsai redwood tree. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, oak tree, redwood tree, whatever. Not all trees can be bonsai. I think it needs to have branches and leaves. But bonsai experts would have to correct me on that. But I think that is accurate or very, very close to accurate. But so you can take a little redwood or whatever tree, many types of trees, and make a bonsai tree, right? So a lot of it just deals with the size of the pot that the thing is in, that the roots can expand into. And then you can also mold the branches and do all kinds of artwork and that sort of thing. And so they make these little beautiful, pygmy trees, basically. And And so that's quite interesting, isn't it? But people can be the same way, right? When I used to run around in India a lot, I would hear Indians say things like, people are like, water that you pour into a glass. They will take the shape of the glass, right?
Yes.
And the Hindus sometimes would say something like the wife will take the shape of her husband's glass. They would say things like that, right? And so and what I'm getting to is these sorts of, or say braces on your teeth, right? This is all ways of shaping things the way that you want them, right? And bodybuilding, it's all the same, right? So it's the same with your mind. Your mind can be shaped, especially by people that know what they're doing. And this is not an old science and art. It has been around for thousands of years, clearly been around for thousands of years. And it's up now, now with the ability to capture so much information about everything we do, every facial expression we make, every body language, every tone of our voice, everything that I'm saying and you're saying now is being captured, obviously, and fed into the Borg. And these sorts of things can be used to manipulate us, right? And it's nothing new. This has been going on. When you're in a courtroom, why does the judge sit higher than you? You know what I mean? The judge sits higher than you and wears a special robe to say, I have power over you, right? There's little things all over the place, right? That we're just
because we're slaves.
But we're in the bonsai, right? We're in the, like for instance, Americans and Japanese, like Misako last night, she had to pay taxes. Where she went to pay taxes? She went to 7-Eleven and paid her taxes in 7-Eleven.
What?
Yeah. I'm not making this stuff up, So I mean, and so the Americans, we had a revolution over a tiny tea tax. Now it's like, yeah, we'll fill out. When you can tell if you're a slave or not. Are you filling out papers for somebody else? If you're filling out papers for somebody else, you're filling out papers for your slave master, basically, at the end of the day. Yeah. I'm not talking about papers, for that you might need an address to ship something, obviously. But that's obviously administrative stuff. But when it comes to like paperwork declaring everything about yourself, long lists, spending days and months of your life filling out these incredibly manufactured tax forms and all this stuff. I mean, you're a slave, bottom line, right? And one of the reasons that you were talking about gold and silver before, one of the reasons that they don't want us using gold and silver is that's an exit from the slave class, right?
Yep.
The fiat money, Marco Polo brought that back from China when he was running around out and doing Marco Polo stuff. And, if you want to slave people, you do it with fiat, obviously, right? And now they're going to do it with digital money, and it's going to make it even worse. But at the end of the day, Japanese, as an example, Japanese used to be really serious about gold, just like most sorts of Americans. In the old days, our cultures, it's in our firmware. It's part of our culture. We knew about gold. We knew about silver, and so did Japanese, right? But that was washed out of Japanese and out of Americans over time, right? Now, most Americans don't own any gold, and they don't even know why you would. And it's the same with Japanese. But gold used to be a huge part of the Japanese culture. It's just been washed out. Now, to be a virtuous Japanese or American, you're supposed to save a lot of fiat money in your bank account.
Yes.
Totally surrendering your money to them. And as they inflate it away and that sort of thing. And so, but the Chinese, Vietnamese, Thai people, Indians, they all still use gold. They know the importance of that. They know very much the importance of it. Now you've got people trying to push Bitcoin on us and all these other, I know all the Bitcoin bros out there go crazy every time they're like, oh, you don't understand Bitcoin. I'm like, let's go ahead and get down past all the bullshit.
And that's what it is. I mean, really,
you may think that you're Mr. Scientist dude and you understand all the techniques and all the stuff going on with Bitcoin. But if you think you understand Bitcoin and you're a big investor in Bitcoin, guess what? You a sucker. You are a sucker. You're like a jab pusher. You're that level of sucker, right? You don't know what's going on when it comes to information war and manipulation. You are going to lose it. You might eventually. I've had Bitcoin since 2013, by the way. I know as much as the average guy, right? Which is not a lot, but I know that I think it's still going to go up for a while, and then something's going to happen, right? At the end of the day, remember, they used to sell Bitcoin as this is anonymous, this is the way to do it. And then when that argument collapsed, and that was the biggest reason to do it, right? Like we had freedom through Bitcoin. That was the big reason, right? But it was actually a trap. Remember, who invented Bitcoin? Some nebulous Japanese guy that everybody thinks they know who he is. You know how many people have told me, actually, I think I know who he is. I think I know him. You know, they'll say that all the time, right? It's like, okay, it's like I'm Scott Irish. All the Scott Irish think they're Cherokee Indian. You know what I mean? It's like from the Dawes Roll stuff. Anyway, but the what I'm getting to is, if you're going to fool huge numbers of people, there's only one culture in the world that still retains a lot of trust, and that's Japanese, right? That's it, right?
Well, they did take away the ability for the Japanese to buy gold there for a bit, which tempered the ability to get gold. So
just yesterday, it was in the news here in Japan. Just yesterday, it was in the news here in Japan that the biggest gold dealer in Japan. You can look it up and see what they're saying, but they're starting to constrict your ability to go ahead and get your gold out, right? You can still get it, but they're starting to put some constraints on your ability to get your gold out. If you want to buy gold in Japan, which Masako and we went through that process just so we could see what it was. Like she went in and bought like an ounce or two and filled out all the paper. We just wanted to see what it was. It was a tax on it. You got to fill out all these paper. Got to show your ID for gold.
It's a tax on it. Tax on gold.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people buy when you buy gold, buy and hold it. I mean, I'm sorry, but I buy and hold gold and silver. I just do, right? And a lot of it.
It's basically real money, right? And at the end of the day, but this idea that, for instance, gold. A lot of people. I have a lot of experience in Asia. Now I've spent about 20 years in Asia, right? So
do you live there now, or are you just visiting right now?
I just left Texas and Panama and Argentina. Actually, that was where I went from Japan to Argentina for 2 months, down to Panama for about 5 months, then up to Texas for about 2 months. Now I'm back in Japan, right? So I'm all over the globe, right? And so I've spent most of my time out of the United States, most of my life, whether it was in the Army or whatever, in about 99 countries, right? Or exactly 99 countries at this point that I've actually honestly been to, not airport stops or 2 or 3 days, but actually, spent years in Afghanistan, Iraq, Thailand, India, Nepal, that sort of thing, right? And so I've learned a few things about the world.
What's your favorite?
That's hard to say. Actually, United States. I love Texas. I love Florida, where I grew up, but Florida's not the place I would want to be right now because it's a trap. I was just in Texas I love Texas. I mean, that's
I love Texas.
My way of being, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not there because of that. I'm there because that's a war zone. Texas will be, it's highly contended area. My friend, Doc Chambers, you should get him on your show. He's running for governor right now.
Well, I've had him on several times.
Doc's Doc Chambers.
Yeah.
He's running for governor. He needs to, Abbott, he's total World Economic Forum, total take the gold guy, right? I mean, Abbott's not talking about gold, but he's World Economic Forum. So at the end of the day, here in Japan, again, people used to trade in gold and silver and that sort of thing. And then through brainwashing, most Japanese, when you look at them and talk about gold, it's like, it's the same with Dutch. Dutch used to be huge into gold and silver. You talk with Dutch people now about gold and silver, which I have. Masako and I spent, significant time in the Netherlands because that's also vital terrain. Rotterdam Harbor's there and all kinds of other things, which is the biggest harbor in Europe. But you talk with Dutch people about gold, I handed some gold in Thailand to a Dutch scientist. I know we were meeting with a Thai doctor actually who's into the jab information, and so we were all meeting at this table in Bangkok, and we were talking about gold because I wanted to talk about gold as well. And I actually got a coin because you can buy them in Thailand like as easy as buying coffee, right? There's so many gold shops around Thailand. It's like more gold shops than there are coffee shops. And I'm not exaggerating. I think that's a truthful statement. I strongly think it's a truthful statement. And but so gold is still real money in Thailand. They still save in gold and that sort of thing. It's almost liquid. It's almost as liquid as fiat. Not quite as liquid as fiat. Let's say if fiat is water, gold is honey. The gold.
You just got to make sure you're testing the gold there, because you're liable to get
in Thailand, it's quite easy because there's so many gold shops, and they they deal with it, and they've got their own gold standard that's 96.5%. They use their own weight. Their money is called the baht, but their gold standard weight of gold is also called the baht, which confuses people because that's the weight. That's not but it's based on the same thing. But anyway, bottom line is so I had this Dutch scientist. He's a friend of Masako and I, and we were talking with this Thai doctor who's also into the jab information. And so we were in a private meeting, but I had got a gold coin because I wanted to just put it in front of these two individuals, and I wanted to see their responses. Now, the Thai guy, of course, he knows all about gold. He's like, oh yeah, da, da, da. But the Dutch scientist, we're talking Dutch, man. He had never held a gold coin before. And he did what a lot of people do. They start looking at it like, wow, so that's what gold is. Can you imagine? We're talking Dutch, man. Dutch used to be, actually, I'm in Nagasaki, by the way. This is where the Dutch used to trade here. And, because the Japanese didn't let Dutch and, Portuguese, when they came here to Nagasaki, all they were doing was taking, slaves and stuff down to the Brazilian gold mines. Actually, quite literally, they were doing stuff quite literally. I didn't even think about that until just now. The Portuguese were here in Nagasaki. They would take Japanese slaves and they would have them down in the gold mines in Brazil, actually. And anyway, but and do other things with them. But at the end of the day, the Dutch today are brainwashed away from gold. They are brainwashed away from it. But meanwhile, BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, has made it a tier 1 asset now. Bank of International Settlements is let's say the center of the universe on banking, right? Their office is in Basel.
I don't even know how we got on gold, but it's a fascinating conversation because there's so much that people don't understand that they have access to in the United States. And I mean, we go from believing that vaccines are good for us, which are not good for us. And then we look at all the things they put in front of us, say, do this, do that, do this, do that. And we walk ourselves off a cliff in the United States. And
let's talk about that for a minute. I got something for you, but go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. I mean, look, I spent time in the Middle East and Africa. I learned Arabic. I was in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Egypt, Libya, Sudan. Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, 65 countries that didn't include airports, as you want to call it.
I tell everybody,
and a few others that I was at airports. I can say, I was at the airport.
Yeah,
I got some.
That's like when you're playing football and the guys bang their football helmets together to get a stripe on it, like they've been actually hitting and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the
grass stain. They lay on the ground and go like this. Oh, I got a grass stain.
It's like, dude. It's like, I tell all the young people, I'm like, travel to at least 5 other countries that are not your country. And once you travel to really, I don't mean like Canada, that doesn't count for Americans, right? But, for me, being from Florida, New York would be a foreign country. But what I'm getting to is once you travel, as you know, because you're very well traveled, once you travel to just like 5 other countries, the whole world looks very different.
Way different.
It's like you've got a totally different set of glasses on. But yeah, anyway, I was I want to tell you something. This is very interesting. Weights and measures and money and these sorts of things are very, very important, right? And in fact, we just found an old Japanese book last night in an antique bookstore here in Nagasaki on weights and measures. Masako bought it. And but weights and measures. Now, I know a lot of the Bitcoin people, they often seem to think that they're highly informed and therefore they're smarter than the rest of us. That's why they're putting all their savings in Bitcoin. And it's like getting your 8th jab or something. But, and they probably will know, they will probably, let me ask a question.
I got a little bit of Bitcoin, but I bought Bitcoin back when it was $25, right?
I still do too. But it's just enough that, and I'm going to keep it to the bitter end. It's just a little bit. I just watch it because I'm watching the scam, right? I mean, it's But it's also useful. I've used it at times. Sometimes I just need it for different things. But at the end of the day, if it were not a giant scam, ultimately, it would be great. But it is, right? And it's clear. In any case, I have a question for, and I know a lot of people, especially the Bitcoin bros and the Vax pushers, they think they're very smart. I wanted to ask them on weights and measures, what's heavier, an ounce of gold or an ounce of iron?
An ounce of gold or an ounce of iron? They're both the same.
But that's the trick.
Yeah.
The trick is they're not the same.
Well, it's an ounce. Are you talking about a weight, or are you talking about?
There's the trick.
Yeah.
There's the trick. Gold is measured in troy ounces.
Right.
Iron is measured in avoirdupois ounces. That's the trick. That's the level. There's layers of pushkadal trickery going on.
Right.
And a lot of times, and when you're doing trickery on somebody and you're doing the gypsy tricks, you want the clever people to go, "Oh, I got you." You want the clever people to go, "I got you." Hey, I see through your trickery. They're the same. Everybody knows that. And you don't realize that's not the trick. The trick is they don't weigh the same because they're measured in different ounces, right? Yeah. And so what I'm getting to is there's all kinds of levels of trickery. It's many, many levels, right? It's like a pushkadal of trickery, right? What's the other name for pushkadals? Matrinka or something like that. But the dolls within the dolls. And that's the way this trickery goes. There's many, many layers to it, right? And so, and when it comes to the Bitcoin, as an example, there are many layers of trickery going on here. It's not just one where people that think, people that are into coding will go, well, it's the code. And first of all, if you didn't write the code and you don't have complete and you don't have control over the code, which no individual person does, if you don't have complete control and deep knowledge of that code, you don't know what's in the code, period, right? Despite whatever books you read, 50 books you read on Bitcoin. If you didn't write the code and have complete control over that code, but even when people come out with software, whether it's Microsoft Word or something, there's always people hacking it too, right? I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot more going on. There's levels of trickery here that are very difficult, in fact, impossible for people to know how it would be used. First of all, anyway, there's so many layers of it. At the end of the day, if you read the book, there's a great book from 1842, I think, it's about imposters. It's about basically all the main huge trickery that's been done through the years, like the tulip mania, right? Yeah. From the 1640s in Netherlands, the Mississippi scheme that the French did, the South Sea scheme that the British did at the same time frame, about 1720. And you read this book. You read the old descriptions of these major frauds that happened on national level frauds, right? Or national level stampedes like Tulip Mania. And you see there's zero difference between then and now. Zero. I mean, there's always been huge fraud, and it's been done at the national level by kings and queens, by governments against their own people constantly.
All right, do you want to know something? What you're saying? This is going to blow your mind. I'm in a tech world. I'm pretty good at tech. We built a bunch of tech to keep people safe from getting scammed, right?
Right.
And most of the scams that you have out there, even the ones that say, go get me gift cards and stuff like that, they're perpetrated by the federal government, our own government, all of them. Like you could stop it. You could see where they come in. It could be like this quick. You'd cut them all off. All the Nigerian scammers, all that stuff. You could snap your finger, be gone. But the governments are actually doing it. There are actually government-sponsored programs at the CIA that are funding their operations by stealing it from Americans.
I would say that's stunning, but it's not.
It's true.
Again,
it's totally true.
The Mississippi scheme, the South Sea scheme,
Yeah.
The jabs. I mean, the whole, you know what I mean? It's like, it never ends. Fiat money, the Fed. Fed is one of the hugest scams ever in the planet Earth.
It's organized crime. It's organized crime because, I mean, we talked about what the DEA has done in bringing drugs into the streets to actually influence and corrupt entire groups of people inside the inner cities. You can talk about what they've done with guns and running guns. You had the program that Obama put out there, Fast and Furious, where they were selling guns down into Mexico that were used to actually kill Americans on U.S. soil. So, and people don't understand just how dirty the game is. And what you just said was fascinating. Go to 5 other countries, not including Canada, not including Mexico. Mexico is not even a good indicator of a good country to go to. Go to 5 other countries. Go to Panama. Go to Central or South America. Just stay as far away from the Mexicana as you possibly can, and Canada, which, by the way, is just a land of retards anyway. You're not going to learn anything there. But go to these 5 other countries, and you will figure out very quickly that what you think you see in America is not real. It's not real. It is a conglomerate of facades at every level of government, and you're a slave. They literally just come in and just take from you what they want.
Even the idea of red pill or blue pill. I mean, so that actually is another layer of trickery. Oh, I'm going to take the red pill. Okay, it's the same pill from the same dude whose last name you don't even know. You just met him, right? It's like, hey, Morpheus, yeah, okay, I'll take the so-called water and I'll take the red pill, please. And you think you're smart. I'm going to take the red pill. I'm the brave guy. I'm like, you just took a pill. You just took a pill from a guy you don't know.
Took a pill, period. Kind of like the vaccines. You put that shit in your body and you wonder what's going to happen to you. You're going to die.
Multiple layers of this stuff. Multiple layers, isn't it? It's layers and layers, sedimentary layers of trickery, right? And it's so deep. There's this movie called They Live. Masako got me to watch that. It was a very good movie. And, this is basically you put these glasses on and you read the signs differently, all the signs, you can see right through them. Like we went to the Nagasaki Museum yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Masako and I have been to museums in about 30 countries in the last 4 years. I've studied museum warfare for many years. And I've been to museums all over China and all over Asia and Europe. And because museum warfare, I call it museum warfare. Museums are used it's just unbelievable what you can do with museums, right? And so, for instance, yesterday we were at the Atomic Bomb Museum here in Nagasaki. I'm right near the Hypo Center, right now where the weapon detonated. And this museum here in Nagasaki, there was actually somebody there yesterday from the Nobel Committee, and it was in the news here, and we happened to be there at the same time, by the way. Speaking of information war, Alfred Nobel, of course, he was the big explosives maker, his products responsible for many, many deaths. At the end of the day, he didn't want to be known as the guy responsible for killing massive numbers of people. So he started the Nobel Peace Prize, right? So there's some information war right there. You know what I mean? The Nobel Peace Prize built by the doctor of death, right? Or let's say a doctor, or not a doctor, but you get what I'm talking about. Explosives, right? Alfred Nobel. And so anyway, there was some people there yesterday from the Nobel Committee actually at the museum. But what I'm getting to is museum warfare. Yesterday, I saw something that I haven't seen since China, especially at Nanjing, China, and this museum I went to there. But I'm in Nagasaki, Japan. So there was a huge groups of Japanese students coming in wearing their student uniforms, and their teacher would have the flag and they're leading them through. The last time I saw teachers with the flags leading people into museum was Nanjing in China, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was the only white guy there. I was there I'd flown to Nanjing just to go to that museum and study some information more. That's why I was actually there. And so, and we came here to go to this museum. And so, but here at the museum in Nagasaki, it's all about surrender. It's all about peace. It's all about peace. Nobody is blamed. They don't blame Americans for atomic bomb or anything like that. But it's all about peace. Now, interesting. Now, if you put your They Live glasses on and you have studied this for the many years that I have across so many countries, when you see peace like that, that means war. That means war. That means surrender is what it means. But you go to Nanjing over in China, and you go to another museum over there, and it's all about hatred towards Japanese. So that's quite interesting. So here, and I'm in Nagasaki right now, and over in Nanjing, it's all about the hatred against Japanese. So all these huge numbers of students coming through the Nanjing Museum, the rape of Nanjing, it's another information war, by the way. And then here in Nagasaki, all about peace. Japan should be disarmed and that sort of thing, right? Everybody should be peaceful. That means surrender. And, whenever you see like green peace, it ain't green peace, it's green war, right? And I was at this in Glendale, California. I was at the statue, this Comfort Women statue by the library there in Glendale. Anybody from Glendale watching this, you know where that statue is. I've been there many times to that statue. I've taken Masako there. I've taken others there. And I'm like, see, this is statue warfare, monument warfare. You see this all over the place, all over the world. Actually, I tracked down the man and wife who make those statues in Korea, and I had lunch with them in Korea, right? I mean, I know about this subject, right? I've written 3 books on it, right? And so you'll see that I was at that statue in Glendale, California years ago, and there was a Japanese tour group there. I got their card, and they were from the Peace Green tour company, Peace Green. So if you want to look up Peace Green Tour Company, yeah, they do tours to these monuments that basically are made to get Japanese to continue to surrender, to get away from your proud to be Japanese background. They want everybody to be ashamed to be Japanese. About 10 years ago, I was giving a speech in Tokyo to a bunch of historians and journalists and that sort of thing, Japanese. And it was a big auditorium. I said, I've been around this world, and I ask a bucket of questions to these different countries. In different countries, I'll ask, like, do you trust your courts? Do you trust your police? Do you trust your army? Do you trust your government? It's like a bucket of questions, right? And
what's the answer typically?
No. No. Yeah, some do. But
if they say yes, you're like, yeah, you're not my guy. Next.
But I also ask them. I also ask, what countries do you respect and disrespect? Is there any countries you fear, any countries you hate, or you really like? If you go to Thailand, Thais love Japanese, right?
Yeah.
And you go in Taiwan too, believe it or not. And I mean, Taiwan, which is, they speak Mandarin in Taiwan, and obviously in Thailand they speak Thai. I used to have an office in Thailand, right? And so, but what I'm getting to is, when I was giving this speech about 10 years ago in Tokyo, which is probably online. And I asked the Japanese group, I said, I've been all over the world. I've asked this bucket of questions. And one of them is, which other peoples do you respect and don't respect, fear and don't fear? And clearly, at that point, the most respected 2 countries were Japan and United States, by far. Now, obviously, that's like, we're all taught.
Probably shifted. 10 years has shifted. It's been a shift.
Yeah, we're all taught that Americans are hated everywhere, but I travel the world, man, and you have too. You've been to 65 countries. You've taken a proper inventory. I'd say anything over about 25 or 30 is a good inventory, right?
I feel more comfortable in other countries sometimes than I do in the United States. I just walk in, I'm like
100%. 100%. And you say that to Americans, and they're like, "What? You've gone anti-American?" I'm like, "Nope, I've been all over America, brother, and I love the United States, but I'm gonna tell you what." It's not the perfect country, and we've got problems, right? But when it comes to respect, I was giving this speech in Tokyo, and I said, look, I've only found a few countries that don't like Japan. And which are those? And so they're like, Korea, okay. China, okay. But actually, most Koreans and Chinese seem to like Japan, actually. But there's a huge information wars in Korea and China to not like Japan. But the third one, nobody could get, right? And so finally I said, the country that hates Japan the most is Japan, right? And they almost did a standing ovation. I think you could probably find that speech.
Self-loathing, and you're absolutely right.
I said, you know what? There's another country where this is true, and that's the United States. And there's another country, and that's Germany. Keep in mind, after World War II, we did the War Guilt Information Program here in Japan, and we did it in Germany as well, to make them feel guilty for everything that happened, right? Despite, for those who have really studied actually why the Germans did what they did. It didn't come out of thin air, actually, right? Nor did it come out of thin air for Japanese at all. In fact, we clearly created World War. I could talk about this for hours. You should see my library. Actually, I mean, it's we've spent years studying this, right? Because my team studies information war. The highest form of warfare is information war. And
okay, so then tell me about the Israel, I don't know, love fest that we have in our country that does not allow us to make decisions based on what we see.
Information
about it.
Straight up hardcore information war,
Yeah.
right? And keep in mind who controls a lot of the music industry. Listen, the biggest weapon that you can unleash on a foreign people or country is intoxicants, right? The next one after that is number 2 weapon. Intoxicants is like hydrogen bombs. Music is like atomic bombs, right? I mean, music, especially combined with intoxicants, you want to alter if you really want a good opening up, softening up blows, naval gunfire and airstrikes, but naval gunfire is your intoxicants, right? And airstrikes is your music, right? I mean, that's a softening up for making the mind malleable and open to messages, right? Listen to our music. I love country music, but when you listen to country music, I'm from Florida, man. I grew up with country music. I'm always in Texas and that sort of thing. You grow up, but you listen to it. It's always my dog got drunk and ran off with the neighbor's dog or whatever. You know what I mean? Can't find my hunt dog.
It's kind of a little better than that. It's kind of a little better than that.
Yeah, but I mean, I grew up with country music. I still listen to it, but now I listen to it with different ears than I used to listen to it. Now, even the upbeat songs, Head, California, Tails, Carolina, or whatever it is, they start off in a bar, it's upbeat music. Here we are drinking in the bar, you know what I mean? Just being ourselves while the border's being invaded, right?
Right.
When I talk about Joe Rogan pushing dope, I call him, the bong monkey that he is. He's over there with Elon Musk smoking dope on his show in front of millions of young people, two of the most influential people in the world, right?
And they don't care. They don't care.
That was when I was like, that is an actual attack. That's not stupidity. These are, Elon Musk's supposed to be Mr. Spock and the smartest dude in the whole galaxy, if not the universe, and he's smoking dope in front of young people. Oh, no, that is a straight up attack. Also, he pushed the jab, right? He pushed the death jab, right? And if you back off of it later, after everybody took it, that don't count. That's like telling people not to step on the landmine after you're picking their body out of the top of the tree, right? I mean, it doesn't count afterwards, right? And so but that's a direct attack. The intoxicants have been used in war since the beginning of time, since the beginning of written time. I mean, you should see my library. It's all history and anthropological warfare and all these sorts of things, right? I mean, it's taken years to go through so many books and old things and so many different countries and see how this is done. And like one of the ways that we defeated Indians was just getting them drunk, and the Spaniards were.
What was it? Piao?
Yeah, no, they were that was coming from them to us. I mean, we were alcohol to them, right? And of course, many people say, well, and then the British did the Opium War against the Chinese, and that's why the Chinese are filling our streets with fentanyl, which is non sequitur. Why would the Chinese fill our streets with fentanyl? Because of the British Opium War. But let's get down to that for a minute. The Chinese and Opium War. The Chinese still do opium war and they still do fentanyl war. The Chinese have been doing drug wars since the edge of time. I can't find a time when they haven't. Chinese have been doing opium war around Asia for I can't find the first instance. Every time I look deeper, there's another layer. There's the Chinese giving opium to the Siamese and undermining the old kingdom, right? Or doing it in Formosa, which is now Taiwan, right? And so, I mean, they've always been using opium themselves, right? And spreading it around. So it's not like chicken and egg. It's the further you can look back, you just find another layer of sediment. The Chinese still use drugs in war. They know read the book Unrestricted Warfare. They're constantly talking about the use of drugs and that sort of thing, right? And so so drugs and warfare, let's say intoxicants, alcohol, whatever, is it's the number one weapon. That's nuclear warfare, right? And what I'm getting to is And when you see how it's being played out, for instance, Masako, we were in Argentina last year. Speaking of which, I did an interview with Ivor Cummins in about November, I think, in 2024, and it just dropped yesterday. And Ivor left me a voicemail message yesterday. He didn't drop it for 8 months. It just went out like 24 hours ago, right? And look how accurate it has turned out. Like, I'm talking about Iran. I'm talking about all kinds of different things. Just watch it and look how accurate that thing turned out, right? I mean, I'm like Babe Ruth in that interview. That was in November of 2024. He didn't drop it. He told me on the voicemail yesterday because I kept talking about, Trump is a Zionist, right? And back then I was like, well, how can you say Trump is a Zionist? Well, because Trump's a Zionist.
So he held on to it and said, yeah, man. So, I mean, how do you square that? How do you square?
Ivor didn't want to get demonetized by me calling Trump a Zionist back then, but now it's like obvious, and Trump has admitted to it, right? Well, how do I square it? It's easy. I mean, but it takes years of action. It takes a lot of study. Why does Israel even exist? Israel,
Rothschilds, 1943 was when it actually started, when the war was still going on.
It goes way back before that. It goes way back before that.
They needed a monetary. They needed a home base, and they created it as a home base.
It goes back before that, right? So let's go back to the 1800s, right? Suez Canal is built. This is about routes and resources, right? Suez Canal is built 1869, right? And ever since that time, that's a main artery, the Suez Canal, right? Control of the Suez Canal is absolutely vital. And the British and Americans, French, everybody wanted to have control over Suez Canal, right? And obviously in 1914, the Panama Canal opened, and this was the period of canal building, right? Major canal building, right? And in fact, the United States in the 1800s, we built about 4,000 miles of canals around the United States. 4,000 miles in just the 1800s, right? More than 4,000. And then we started with railroads, and that diminished so it's routes and resources. But let's go back to Israel. So ever since the Suez opened, people want control over it, right? Obviously, they don't want Egypt to have control over it. They don't want anybody. Everybody is going to fight over that. That's a pork chop, right? A pork chop surrounded by lions, right?
Yep.
So using the Zionists were formed. Theodor Herzl is the father of Zionism. Theodor Herzl, of course, the modern Zionist movement was formed, everybody knows, in 1897, right? They started issuing bonds in London in 1899, in London in 1899. I have one of those bonds. I own it, right? It's in Japan, actually. I bought it in Panama City in a Jewish guy's antique shop where I bought all of his books on Panama Canal and history of Panama, right? And I bought one of those bonds from him, actually. But it's if you look up the bonds for Zionism, you'll find them online. You can buy them. You can buy them because they issued huge amounts of them, right? So it'll cost you maybe $600, but you might find one for $400, right? But it's worth it if you're into history because it's unbelievable. So they issued these bonds in 1899 to go take Palestine, right? 1899. Now, who was behind all this? It wasn't just Jewish people. Keep in mind, Zionism is not Judaism. Zionism is a political glove, just like Republicans and Democrats aren't Christianity, right? It's just not. It's that different. But they do it under the guise of we are Jews and we have to have a free state. That's not what this is about. This is about using the Jews as useful idiots.
I said it. Yeah. I called it.
Yeah. Useful idiots because
they're captured too.
Absolutely.
They're captured too.
We want control over Suez, right? And now there's obviously gas off of Gaza. There's obviously the Indo-European corridor from Mumbai up through UAE and Saudi and Jordan, and there through
the
Israel.
Resources in Gaza equal that of the resources in some of the most oil-rich countries in the world.
It's huge. And just the location, even without that, even the reason that, because remember, a lot of the Jews remember, the Zionists cooperated with the Nazis. Oh, I've got a book on it in my library, actually. It's very interesting. But they actually, like the Nazis and the Zionists wanted to keep in mind, Zionism is not Judaism, and authentic Jews will tell you that all the time. There are a lot of Jews who are Zionist, but I think, and nobody seems to know the answer to this, but it seems to me that the on the pie chart of who's a Zionist, it seems to be that the greater number of Zionists is American Christians. That's what it.
Well,
seems.
they've been fooled. They've been told that it's in Gemini or in Genesis. The Genesis tells us we have to, and I'm like, no, it's not. And then I go, by the way, you have to skip past Exodus, Numbers, and Leviticus. And you have to not believe any of that, but you'll believe certain other parts of it. Then you just skip past the Gospels because that doesn't make a difference, even though it says very clearly you can't get to God except through Jesus. I mean, but I digress. All that stuff is that you go to these pastors, and the pastors are like, you have to report to Israel.
And Netanyahu, who is whiter than I am, he's not Semitic. He's like Semitic. Does he look Semitic to you? I mean,
you're not allowed to call them white.
They're white,
Michael.
Anyway,
you are not, Michael. Hold on a second. They're not white. This is a great conversation. I just had this conversation with someone else. It's like this. They have a new race, Michael. They have a new race. Okay, let me just tell you. I'm a policeman, right? I'm talking to the dispatcher. Yeah, we have a 5'9" Jew color running down the street. What color? Jew color. It's not a color.
Meliakovsky, of course,
it's a social construct of your pigmentation. That's what it was always designed to be. And they're like, no, we're not white. No, we're Jew. What color are you? Jew? I didn't even know that was a color. Is it like a Jew, or is it? Can help me? I'm being self-loathing.
Genetic Jews are rare, like unicorns, right? Genetic Jews. All these others, like Meliakovsky. Remember, Meliakovsky. Netanyahu's actual name was Meliakovsky. It changed it, right? Same as the president down there in Argentina, right? Meliakovsky, same last name as Netanyahu, right? Same family name, Meliakovsky. I don't know if it's the same family, but same family name, right?
Are you serious?
I'm serious as a heart
attack. Man, I feel like I've just figured out that Santa Claus is not real. I did not know that Netanyahu.
More real than Netanyahu.
And I love history. I read. Yeah, Netanyahu is a little weasel. He's like 3 feet tall.
Listen, his family was in Poland, of course, Meliakovsky, and they changed their name. And this is all part of that larger construct of the huge information architecture, right? And so control over.
See, everybody that's listening, you just got a lesson. You just got taken to the cleaners just now. Yeah, you just found out Santa Claus was not real.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff that came from your parents or somebody, and who may not be your parents.
May not be your parents. I found out I'm an orphan. I'm an orphan, and Santa Claus isn't real. Damn it!
How come I don't look like you?
Oh my gosh!
So Meliakovsky, same last name. When I went down to the CPAC down in Argentina with Masako. That was the same time frame. I think it was within a couple of days of when I did that interview with Ivor Cummins that just dropped yesterday, right? And when I'm calling Trump a Zionist, and Ivor didn't publish it because he thought he would get demonetized, but now Trump's admitted he's a Zionist, right? I mean, it's like so obvious. And but
did he do a preclude to it? Say, by the way, this was like 9 months ago, and I'm just now gonna release it because Michael's a fortune teller.
Well, look. He says in the beginning, he says that I'm prophetic, which there's been news articles in the past that said, they've actually, in the Iraq war and Afghanistan war, sometimes people would call me Nostradamus. And they would call me that, not because I'm smarter than everybody else or anything like that at all, because I'm actually not. But I do study harder than most people. And what I'm willing to do is actually say what's obvious. That's the difference. Yeah, I'm actually willing to say what's obvious. Like the Iraq Civil War, I called that a year and a half in advance, over and over and over. I was in it. The problem is nobody could really attack me too much because I did more combat than anybody else. So it kind of gave me a bullet resistant shield to all the criticism. I'd be like, where are you talking about this? Chicago? Why don't you get your little ass over to Iraq with me and I'll show you the beheaded people in the street every day, right? That's Sunni versus Shia. That's them killing each other, right? I'm physically present and you're telling me the shit that you read in the New York Times tells you one thing, or I don't care, man. Listen, I'm here on the ground, and I'm telling you it's a civil war, straight up. And then you got the clowns like Bill Roggio, total Zionist. He's like, no, it's not a civil war because, you know, if you look at Webster's or something, he was always doing the dictionary. I'm like, whatever your little dumbass dictionary says, I'm telling you, it's a civil war. They're chopping each other's heads off every night, right? They're blowing each other up. They're blowing each other up, Sunni versus Shia. It's not even Sunni versus Shia all the time. It's tribe versus tribe. And it's anyway, there's different layers of it. What I'm getting to is,
I was there when they blew up a little boy. I was in Iraq. They blew up a little boy.
They were doing it all the time, man. They were doing it all the time, you know, hiding bombs and bodies and all kinds of stuff. And so, but the Civil War was quite
Put it
real.
in his backpack. He didn't even know. He didn't even know. They just sent him down the street in a backpack.
Obvious. It was obvious to everybody it was a civil war. It was obvious, right? Except people were afraid to say it because it was politically incorrect, right? And to call it a civil war because, oh, Americans will lose interest in a civil war. They said, I'm like, listen, you're refusing to call an obvious civil war a civil war. That would be like an oncologist saying, well, I know you don't want to hear you have cancer, therefore you have a headache, right? And so, you know, and then you start treating yourself for a headache. I'm going to drink more fluids and take an aspirin and lay down and die of cancer, right? So because you treat a civil war differently than you treat other types of war, right? And you needed to treat the Civil War like a civil war. But if we started treating it like a civil war, it would be obvious. And they thought that Americans would lose interest in the war. Meanwhile, the Civil War grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. And it cost a huge amount of U.S. and British and other, and obviously Iraqi casualties, right? But what I'm getting to is my predictions often are not even predictions. I'm just telling you what's obvious. I didn't predict that Trump is a Zionist. He was like nakedly a Zionist, right? In that interview that dropped yesterday from about November of 2024 with Ivor Cummins, it's on my Substack now. I talk about, I think the United States is going to attack Iran. And back then, like, what? U.S. attack Iran? I'm like, I'm just saying what I think, right? And now look what's happened, right? And look, just watch the interview. Take notes as you watch it. Look how accurate it's turned out.
So you have become my spirit animal, and I have to say this. So I called Susan Rice long before anybody called Susan Rice. I called Susan Rice back in 2010, right? I called Jeffrey Sachs out as a CIA munchkin back in 2009, right? Called him out again in 2012.
You?
It is. Look, I was over there. I called out that there was no genocide or ethnic cleansing that ever existed in Darfur, and that the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, the East Darfurian Peace Agreement, and the East Peace Agreement and Darfurian Peace Agreement and the CPA were all fabricated, and that all of the stuff that they did to President al-Bashir was a lie. There was never any state-sponsored killing of people up in Darfur. They wanted access to the Abyei district that sits between North and South Sudan at a fraction of dollars. It was all about resources. And then they found that there's uranium and a whole bunch of other things there. I was there. I was on the ground. And they said, oh, they're attacking Christians in South Sudan. It's a lie. And Jeff Sachs going at the Millennium Project that he's going to, stop poverty from existing all over Africa. That was a lie. I went there. No economic activity. I'm on a BBC thing with him in 2011. And I'm like, you're lying. Mm-hmm. And so I called the whole thing. Now you got Jeffrey Sachs out there talking about the fact that he's the smartest guy in the world and understands elections, everything else. I'm like, where did this guy come from? He's like the answer to everything.
You on the ground though, wasn't it obvious to you on the ground?
Oh, so obvious. So yeah, and you could tell a CIA spook as clear as day. They were the psychopaths that were literally stealing the USAID food and then selling it through the back door. It was obvious that USAID was a problem. It was obvious there were no weapons of mass destruction. It was obvious that the people that they were actually shaking hands with in the back rooms that were the terrorists, that were on the deck of cards, were the same people they were playing poker with on Fridays. It was so obvious, and I got to see it up front and personal. and then I come back to the United States. Everybody's like, "Oh, we hate these people. We hate these people. Oh yes, hail Netanyahu."
Can't unsee it.
No, you can't. You cannot unsee it. I tell people that all the time. Oh my gosh.
Once you see it once, it becomes more obvious the second time. It's that
you know the game.
the first time you're like, am I missing something?
All right, we got another show coming on behind me, and I'm over on time. Michael, we gotta do this again. It's Wayne Allen Root. I gotta be good. I could do this for like 3 hours. We got to do this again because I want to talk about this
next week. I'll be in a quieter, easier place with better microphones and cameras and stuff.
All right, where are you going to be? You be in the United States or still overseas?
No, I'll be up in a different part of Japan.
Oh, sweet. All right, so we're gonna have to have this conversation because now we just got to the meat of it. Like you started talking, I was like, holy crap! I'm looking through the window, like, this is my spirit animal. Are you kidding me? Oh, because it can't.
We have to form a nucleus that others will come out and say what they've seen in different parts of the world.
And you find yourself debating the ridiculous because you see it and you say something to someone, and they're like, huh? And you're like, okay, you're dumb. So you have less patience for dumb people because there's so many of them, and you're allergic to them. So then you want to hide from stupid people.
I know this life cycle.
Oh yes. Then you're like, oh, just leave me alone. Please leave me alone. Please leave me alone. My wife says, she goes, you don't like intellectually or institutionally dishonest people. And I was like, yes, that's it.
That's part of it for sure.
Yeah. And I understand the art of war. I've read every one of the books and I understand it. I can see an op from 5,000 meters away. Unbelievably. It's that easy for me.
After you're tuned in, then it becomes more obvious. Like I can spot gators and crocodiles super quickly because I just have the pattern recognition. But it takes a while to develop that. But once you've got it, it's like this museum yesterday, 5 minutes in there, I'm like, this is an op. Yeah.
Look, I said the same thing when I was, and I say it with such ease because it's easily, you could see it. Like the paper tigers on the Con Inc. side, the guys that walk around and why they suppress some voice over another. And you find yourself having this conversation with people where you go, you're just like, how in the world are people even listening to you? What you said about, I've never done drugs, right? So I don't do drugs. And when Elon was puff pass with Rogan, I said it to myself, I like Elon. And I go, Elon, what in your beady mind leads you to believe that was a responsible thing to do when you're trying to lead a revolution into technology? It's just, that's like self-defeating. Why would you do that?
Yeah. And the Zionists, by the way, are supplying the weapons to genocide Christians in Armenia. But when you say that, people are like, what did you just say? Well, just fly on over to Armenia and see for yourself. Masako and I did.
All right. We're gonna cut it off. Michael, thanks for joining us, man. I'm gonna reach out to you next week, have you back on next week. Lynn will reach out to you. Thanks for spending time with me. I know we didn't talk a lot about the vaccines, but here's the deal. Don't take the jab. Okay, if you took the jab, make sure you get that shit out of your system. Don't take any more jabs. Don't take any jabs. No flu vaccine, none of that stuff. Tell pharma to kiss your ass, right?
I'll get you a better guest on the jabs, like Masako or Dr. Murakami.
I love Masako. I like both of them, yeah.
Masako. Yeah, Masako would be the best, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, God bless you. Thanks, Michael. We'll have you back on next week. We're gonna get fire next week. Fire. Count on it.
That's what we're trying.
All right, see you, brother.
Yeah.
I got to wrap up because otherwise they're going to start throwing stuff at me through the window. You got Wayne Allen Root up next with War on Untamed. I'm going to pray us out real quick if we can. And Michael Yon, amazing guy. And I was listening to him trying to figure out where he was taking things. And then all of a sudden he got there. And he started talking about ops. That's my guy. That's the guy that I was like, I'm listening and I'm going, he just has all this knowledge. He's been to all these places. Do you know how many times I can have a conversation with someone? Kings, presidents, prime ministers. I've walked into the room and obviously just looked at something and said, hey, if you do this, that'll be the outcome. And they're like, I've been working on this for like a year. And I'm like, yeah, well, just push that little button right there and everything will go away. And people think that it's a weird thing that you have, like a weird talent you have. But most people have not had the experience that Michael has. Most people have not been to the places he's been to and seen the things that I've seen. And so when you have that and you can, when you can see dead, I call it seeing dead people. I say it all the time. I see dead people. You lack the tolerance for everything else. So that actually gave me the boost that I needed because I was losing my faith in humanity until Michael came on. So I'll have him on next week as well. All right, I'm going to pray us out. And then Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. Go ahead and link up with us and give us a 5-star review, whatever thing. Hit the little up button. Go buy gold and silver, because if you don't, they're going to take it away from you. And yeah, all the other stuff. Support all of our guests. Go buy guns at DCF Guns, and make sure you get a hat at Honorbound USA. Okay, let's pray. Father God, thank you for just the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for just the wisdom and the courage, the commitment, the patience, the things that you have bestowed upon me and so many other people that are listening. Father, please guide us as we go about our daily business, that we may have patience with others that are different than us. We may set aside petty differences, have good dialogue and conversation, and try to come to a place of consensus where we realize it is truly them versus us, them being the demonic versus us being the people in our community. So Father, help us that we may stand shoulder to shoulder with each other, and that we may find solutions, not just in the United States, but around the world, that will bring us to true peace and prosperity for the next generations. Father, help us that we may honor you and we may do what is right, regardless of the consequences. I ask these things humbly in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, we'll see you guys soon. God bless you. And yeah, have fun. See you soon.